Good morning, class. My name is Octavio, and we're going to present chapter 13, and its topic is delivery. What is delivery? Speech delivery is a matter of nonverbal communication. It is based on how you use your voice and body to convey the message expressed by your words. In terms of communication, a mediocre speech will be more effective if it is presented well, whereas a wonderfully written speech can be ruined by poor delivery. Meaning, delivering a speech is not just about having something to say. You must also know how to say it. When to consider speech delivery. One should apply 4 basic methods when delivering a speech. These are reading verbatim from a manuscript, reciting a memorized text, speaking impromptu, and speaking extemporaneously. Let's examine each one closely. Verbatim. Certain speeches must be delivered word for word to the audience according to a meticulously prepared manuscript. Practice aloud to make sure the speech sounds natural. Work on establishing eye contact with your listeners. Do not falter over words, pause in the wrong places, read too quickly or too slowly, speak in a monotone voice. Avoid coming across as reading to your listeners rather than talking with them. Memory reciting speech. If you are giving a speech of this kind, be sure to memorize the material so thoroughly that you will be able to concentrate on communicating with the audience, not on trying to remember the words. Speakers who gaze at the ceiling or stare at the window, trying to recall what they have memorized, are no better off than those who read dully from a manuscript. Impromptu speech. An impromptu speech is delivered with little or no immediate preparation. You might be called on suddenly to say a few words, or in the course of a class discussion, business meeting, or committee report, want to respond to a previous speaker. Whenever you are responding to a previous speaker, try to present your speech in 4 simple steps. First, state the point you are answering. Second, state the point you wish to make. Third, support your point with appropriate statistics, examples, or testimony. Fourth, summarize your point. This 4-step method will help you organize your thoughts quickly and clearly. As with other kinds of public speaking, the best way to become a better impromptu speaker is to practice. Extemporaneous speech. The extemporaneous speaker uses only a brief set of notes or a speaking outline to jog the memory. The exact wording is chosen at the moment of delivery. This method has several advantages. A. It gives more precise control over thought and language than impromptu speaking. B. It offers greater spontaneity and directness than thus speaking from memory or from a full manuscript. It also encourages conversational quality, which means that no matter how many times a speech has been rehearsed, it still sounds spontaneous. When you speak extemporaneously and have prepared properly, you have full control over your ideas, yet you are not tied to a manuscript. You are free to establish strong eye contact, to gesture naturally, and to concentrate on talking with the audience rather than declaiming to them. Most experienced speakers prefer the extemporaneous method, and most teachers emphasize it. How a speech is delivered. A speaker is supposed to deliver a speech by displaying an undistinguished voice and by learning to control their voices. Speakers also deliver a speech by what they say with their posture, gesture, eyes, and facial expressions. The aspects of voice you should work to control are volume, pitch, rate, pauses, vocal variety, pronunciation, articulation, and dialect. Let's look at them one by one. Volume. Volume is the loudness or softness of the speaker's voice. Be sure to adjust your voice to the acoustics of the room, the size of the audience, and the level of background noise. If you speak too loudly, your listeners will think you are boorish. If you speak too softly, they will not understand you. Pitch. Pitch is the highness or lowness of a speaker's voice. The faster sound waves vibrate, the higher their pitch. The slower they vibrate, the lower their pitch. Changes in pitch are known as inflections. Inflection is what makes the difference between the aha, triumphantly explained by Sherlock Holmes upon discovering a seemingly decisive clue, and the aha he mutters when he learns the clue is not decisive after all. If you were to read the preceding sentence aloud, your voice would probably go up in pitch on the first aha and down on the second. We instinctively use inflections to convey meaning and emotion. People who do not are said to speak in a monotone, a trait whose only known benefit is to cure insomnia in one's listener. Rate. Rate refers to the speed at which a person talks. The best rate of speech depends on several things: the vocal attributes of the speaker, the mood she or he is trying to create, the composition of the audience, and the nature of the occasion. Two obvious faults to avoid are speaking so slowly that your listeners become bored, or so quickly that they lose track of your ideas. Pause. Pause is a momentary break in the vocal delivery of a speech. Pauses can be useful. It can signal the end of a thought unit, give an idea to sink in, and lend dramatic impact to a statement. The right word may be effective, said Mark Twain, but no word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause. Developing a keen sense of timing is partly a matter of common sense and a matter of experience. Make sure you pause at the end of thought units and not in the middle. Otherwise, you may distract listeners from your ideas. Do not fill the silence with or. These vocalized pauses can create negative perceptions about a speaker's intelligence and often make a speaker appear deceptive. Vocal variety. When giving a speech, you should strive for vocal variety, changes in rate, pitch, and volume that will give your voice interest and expressiveness. A flat, listless, unchanging voice is as deadly to speech making as a flat, listless, unchanging routine is to daily life. Pronunciation. Pronunciation is the accepted standard of sound and rhythm for words in a given language. The problem is that we usually don't know when we are mispronouncing a word. If we are lucky, we learn the right pronunciation by hearing someone else say the word properly, or by having someone gently correct us in private. If we are unlucky, we mispronounce the word in front of a room full of people who may raise their eyebrows, groan, or laugh. Articulation. Articulation is the physical production of particular speech sounds. Sloppy articulation is the failure to form speech sounds crisply and distinctly. It is one of several causes of mispronunciation, but you can articulate a word sharply and still mispronounce it. For example, if you say the S in Illinois or the P in pneumonia, you are making a mistake in pronunciation, regardless of how precisely you articulate the sounds. Dialect. Most languages have dialects, each with a distinctive accent, grammar, and vocabulary. Dialects are usually based on regional or ethnic speech patterns. The U.S. has 4 major regional dialects: Eastern, New England, Southern, and General American. Dialects are not linguistic badges of superiority or inferiority, but they are usually shaped by our regional or ethnic background, and every dialect is right for the community of people who use it. Which dialect is better to use in public speaking? The answer depends above all on the composition of your audience. Heavy use of any dialect, regional or ethnic, can be troublesome when the audience does not share that dialect. In such a situation, the dialect may cause listeners to make negative judgments about the speaker's personality, intelligence, and competence. To avoid this, professional speakers have been known to invest large amounts of time and money to master the general American dialect used by most television news broadcasters. Body language, posture, facial expression, gestures, eye contact all affect the way listeners respond to a speaker. The speaker should consider his or her kinesics, the study of body motions, as a systematic mode of communication. Personal appearance. Every speaker is expected by her or his audience to exhibit a personal appearance in keeping with the occasion of the speech. Listeners always see you before they hear you. Just as you adapt your language to the audience and the occasion, so should you dress and groom appropriately. Regardless of the speaking situation, you should try to evoke a favorable first impression. Movement. As important as how you act during the speech is what you do just before you begin and after you finish. As you rise to speak, try to appear calm, poised, and confident, despite the butterflies in your stomach. Arrange your notes just the way you want them. Stand quietly as you wait to make sure the audience is paying attention. Establish eye contact with your listeners. Then and only then should you start to talk. When you reach the end of your speech, maintain eye contact for a few moments after you stop talking. Collect your notes and return to your seat. As you do so, maintain your cool and don't cap off your speech with a huge sigh of relief or some remark like, "Whew, I'm glad that's over." Gestures. Skillful gestures can add to the impact of a speech, but effective speakers do not need a vast repertoire of gestures. Whatever gestures you make should not distract from your message. They should appear natural and spontaneous, help clarify or reinforce your ideas, and be suited to the audience and occasion. Gesturing tends to work itself out as you acquire experience and confidence.
Eye contact. One of the quickest ways to establish a communicative bond with your listeners is to look at them personally and pleasantly.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good, man. I'm going to read this one. Gaze is one of the surest ways to lose them. Speakers in the United States who fail to establish eye contact are perceived as tentative or ill at ease and may be seen as insecure or dishonest. It isn't enough to just look at your listeners. How you look at them also counts. You should try to establish eye contact with your whole audience. Beware of tendency to intently at one part of the audience while ignoring the rest. Answering audience questions. The question and answer session can make or break a presentation. A speaker who handles questions well can strengthen the impact of his or her speech. On the other hand, a speaker who evades questions or shows annoyance will almost certainly create the opposite effect. An answer to a question is often the final word an audience hears and is likely to leave a lasting impression. Preparing for a Q&A session. Formulate answers to possible questions. You should be thinking about possible questions even as you are writing your speech. If you practice your speech in front of friends, families, and coworkers, ask them to jot down questions. Keep track of all the questions and answers. Write your answers in full to make sure you have thought them through completely. Another possibility is to have a friend or colleague listen to your presentation, ask questions, and critique your answers. Of course, there's no way to predict every question you will receive. But if you go into a Q&A period full prepared, you will be able to adapt to whatever occurs. Managing the Q&A session. A positive attitude will help you answer questions graciously and respectfully. Try to view questions from the audience as signs of genuine interest and desire to learn more about your subject. A speaker who adopts a sharp or defensive tone while answering questions will alienate many people in the audience. Even if you are asked a hostile question, keep your cool. Avoid the temptation to answer defensively, sarcastically, or argumentatively. Give the questioner your full attention. When faced with an unclear or unwidely question, simply ask the audience member to repeat the question. Most people will restate it more succinctly, and clearly. When you are being asked a question, look at the questioner. Direct your answer, however, to the entire audience. Make occasional eye contact with the questioner as you answer, but speak primarily to the entire audience. Presenting a speech online. An online speech is one that has been created specifically for the audience that will view it online in real time, often using software designed for that purpose. Such a speech requires all the skills of speech preparation and delivery discussed previously, but it also poses technical challenges unique to the online environment. In the online environment, you have fundamentally different relationship with your audience. Because you're not in the same room with them, gauging their response can be difficult. Even if your software allows you to see the audience, you can't make direct eye contact with them. A successful online involves realizing that the online experience is different. Know your technology. There are a number of software programs designed for online presentations. These programs have different features that may be more or less applicable to your presentation. Some programs allow you to combine audio and video with visual aids. Some allow you to see, hear, and chat with your audience. Some let you share documents and collaborate in real time. As a speaker, it is imperative that you know the capability limitations of your software you'll be using. Control the visual environment. Your online speech, however, should not be informal. It should be as polished and professional as an in-person speech. This requires, among all other things, controlling the visual environment so it works for you rather than against you. Pay attention to lighting. You don't want the room to seem too dark. Neither do you want so much light that it washes you out. When previewing yourself, check your distance from the webcam. If you sit too far away, you'll seem small and removed from the listeners. If you sit too close, you'll look like a selfie. If you aim the camera too low, you'll have a proportionate amount of blank space above your head. Clean up what's around you, get rid of the clutter, cups, dishes, pens, and prepare yourself for the online web chat. Nonverbal communication online. Your nonverbal communication is magnified dramatically when you speak via a camera of any kind. Gestures, facial expressions, all become more noticeable, potentially distracting. Because much of your speech will involve sitting in front of the webcam, your position will need to be straight but not rigid. The goal is to appear professional, relaxed, and confident. Well-planned and deliberate hand gestures are also important. If your hands are too close to the camera, they'll draw attention to themselves. Too many hand movements can make you seem nervous and fidgety. As experienced online presenters know, the camera will heighten every eye movement. Avoid looking up or down, and make sure your eyes do not dart back and forth. Imagine yourself establishing straight eye contact. Pacing yourself online. The pacing of your speech can help keep your audience focused on the temptations around them. One way to adjust the pacing of your speech for the online environment is to alter what appears on the audio. Your listeners aren't likely to pay attention for long if they see only head talking head for 10 minutes. So try to incorporate visual aid presentation. Altering what's on the screen can help keep your speech fresh and engaging. Effective pacing also requires that you pay attention to time constraints. Q&A session online. Earlier in this chapter, it will explain how to handle the Q&A session. The same idea applies to the online environment. But there's one additional factor that you will need to consider: whether to invite questions as the speech proceeds or to keep them for the end. Some experienced speakers like to encourage questions during the presentation because it can help keep the audience involved. The downside of this approach is that it can easily throw out the speech off track. For first-time online speakers, the best bet is usually to save Q&A for the end of the speech. This will allow you to communicate the message in an orderly fashion and to answer whatever questions you may have. Rehearsing online environment. There are two general stages to rehearsing an online speech. First, as with an in-person speech, you should try to practice in front of family, friends, or coworkers. They can give you feedback on such things as the structure of your speech, the clarity of your ideas, the tone of your voice, the pitch of your remarks, and so forth. Second, you need to focus specifically on adapting your delivery for the online environment. Practice with the computer and software you will use on the day of your speech. Make sure you know all the computer commands and can execute them flawlessly. Practice with your visual aids so you can integrate them seamlessly into your speech. Do everything you can to control of the presentation. Finally, backup plan. No matter how much time speakers invest in mastering the technology at their end, they can still be undermined by technology glitches at the audience's end. Experts recommend that you always have a backup plan. The technology fails. The plan might be to distribute outline of your speech via email. It might be to move the speech to an audio-only conference call. It might even be to schedule a speech once the technical problems are resolved. And that concludes Chapter 13, Delivery Speech, by Martin Mercado and
Octavio Perez. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. If you have any questions,
bye.
Bye.